welcome to the True Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Kessie, and on this week's True Metal Rewind, you will get treated to an interview with Damna of Elvenking, which is coming right up now, which was recorded in summer of 2019. Also, you'll get to hear a teaser from MonSTARS of Rock, the LORDI Story, our new documentary series airing in July of this year. This week we have a teaser with Kita, aka Sampsa Astala. And at the end of this week's episode, you will hear a track called The Inquisition by a band from New York called A Fighting Revenge. So plenty to hear on this week's episode, and right up now is our interview with Damna of Elvenking. Seeing as you guys you're coming up to your 10th album now, the release of your 10th album, and I was just wondering, does it become harder for you to come up with the new material at this stage?
Well, actually, yeah, as you say, it's a very special album because, yeah, it's the 10th, and we have quite a long history at the moment.
Yeah.
And, well, I just have to say that, it has been special for the songwriting as well, because we could feel a little bit this thing about, the 10th album, and it was like some kind of, an anniversary or something like that. And it was good to, try to kind of do the best album we could, and keeping this in mind, it was a little bit of a challenge. Yeah, I have to tell you the truth. But it has been quite positive. When we think of the first days when we were, sitting down and thinking about the new album, new songs, and one thing that we wanted absolutely was to be, once again, after the release of the Pagan Manifesto, which is 3 albums ago, we wanted to stay, to stick to our sound and not do any kind of research or experiments or anything with our music, because we with that album we really felt we found our identity once and for all. So that was the main rule, if you want to call it the rule, but that was the main thing that we had in mind when approaching to the songwriting of this album as well.
Cool. And obviously this album is Reader of the Runes, Divination. It's a concept album, and looking at a lot of the material surrounding it and all the PR stuff, it says that it's the start of something. It's the opening chapter to something new. So could you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, actually, it's the first time we do a real concept album. We've been doing, kind of theme-driven albums in the past, like The Sides, for example, where it was just one theme where every song was rotating on. And this time we just wanted to, we had the right idea, I think, because we've always been fascinated by this kind of thing where, there is something else, there is something beyond the music, something, a world that just, goes with the music. And we've always been fascinated by this, and bands like, of course, King Diamond or, Savatage or other bands that in the past were really successful in making something that, you still remember to this day, some legendary albums. And you remember the mood, you remember the atmospheres, you remember the stories as well as music. So this was something that really we were really fascinated by this, since we started. So this time we had, I think, the right idea, and me and Aidan, the guitar player, who are also in charge of all the songwriting, were discussing on a possible idea for this album lyric-wise, and we came up with this and we built it day after day. And the story at the end was so, I think, layered, so complex, I would say, that we couldn't fit it in one album. We just had to squeeze all the things in one album, and it would have been too rushy, I think. So we just decided to split it in more parts. So this is the first part, and it is like the introduction to the story, to the characters, and then we will have at least 2 more parts where we'll develop the story.
Very cool. And when you're writing these sort of stories, does it become more complex when it comes down to writing the lyrics?
Well, yes, absolutely, and also the music, because of course we had to, to go along with the mood of the story, when writing the music as well. So it was also a more, I would say, complex way of songwriting, but it was also very stimulating because we had to sit down and, of course, not think only about the music and about the song structures and so on, but also of the atmospheres we could, we would have to create and we would have to follow in order to go on with the story. So, yeah, it has been a little bit more difficult, but also very, very stimulating. And I think that, we had a challenge, a more, difficult challenge, but it was really interesting.
Cool. And what is the story of the album behind it?
Well, basically on this first part, we get to know the characters, so we can see in the story this main mysterious character, which is the Wizard of the Runes, of the title and also of the cover. You can see him, behind, his back. You can see him on the cover, and there are 3 songs that basically talk about him and about a little bit the story in general, and then there are 8 characters, and so there are 8 songs. Each of them is talking about these characters, introducing these characters, and every song is basically telling the visions, the divination that this Wizard of the Runes is making to each one of them, because basically this Wizard of the Runes appears in this village and he starts doing divinations to all of the ones that are going to his shelter. And the story focuses on these particular 8 characters.
Cool, that's very cool, man. And
and then the future and the link between these characters, we will tell about that in the next chapters.
Cool. And with obviously coming up with all these characters and making sort of an interconnected story, were there any film or book influences on you when you were writing this?
Well, no particular thing writing this story. I think that, it's probably all the influence of the literature and the books that we've read in the past, and films, and the things that we've been interested in, kind of, summarize in this, but they're all influences. We haven't been, looking at particular things when writing the story now.
Oh, okay, cool. And before the release of this album, you guys have had a very extensive and long summer lineup of festivals that you've been playing. And when I was looking through all the ones that you were at, the one that really stood out to me, it's a fairly new one, was Sabaton Open Air, which was, I think, about two weeks ago or so. What was that experience like for you guys?
Exactly. Oh, it was great. We've all played already one time there in 2013, and also this time it was amazing. Unfortunately we had this year we had the dirty job to close the festival, and we had to play after Sabaton.
Oh, right.
It was a very difficult task, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was great. The fans, most of the fans stayed there at the festival and watched our show and enjoyed it. So it was really, really good. But we were a little bit afraid of, after Sabaton, everyone will go home, the feeling. But no, it was good.
That's cool. And do you get on well with the Sabaton guys? Have you met them have you met the Sabaton guys a couple of times? Like the guys
yeah. We know very well the guitar player. We said that he's a fan of ours, so it's really, really great to know. Sorry. So yeah, basically, we have a good relationship with them.
Cool, very good. And I guess that obviously becomes a highlight of your career, being able to get along with these fellow artists and play at festivals and all of that. But over your whole career, is there any moment that really stands out to you as being the most important part of your career so far?
Well, yes, as you say, it's, throughout all these years we had many many good things happening. We had, we have been meeting a lot of, also, idols that we were, bands that we were fans of.
Is there, like, when I was doing research on you guys and looking at your own influences, like I was on your website and you have a very cool page where you go through each member of the band and all of your interests and everything like that. And you have a lot of obviously musical artists that you look up to, and they can they're either pop or they're metal. It's not just one genre. So I was wondering, is there any artists that you would love to collaborate on with either a song or an album down the line?
Well, there are a lot, and actually we've been lucky to collaborate with some of them, actually, because we've had the chance to work with John Oliva, for example, or with Martin Walker from Skyclad, or Mike Weed from the King Diamond Band, and some others, also Schmier from Destruction. We had, the chance, and then we were lucky enough to collaborate with them. Of course, there are many, so, one of my favorite artists ever is I already named it a couple of times, is King Diamond himself, which is one of my favorite artists in music and metal. So that would be the biggest dream come true, of course.
Very cool. And is there any particular song that you love of his, or is it just like a wide range, a collection of songs that you love?
You mean from King Diamond?
Yeah, from King Diamond, yeah.
Well, it's I'm a big fan, so it's kind of whole discography and all the Merciful Fate albums as well. So I'm really fond of the mix, the blend that he invented in some kind of way of horror stories and atmospheres and heavy metal. It's just for me very, very the thing that I love the most, basically.
Very good, very good. And do you like video games by any chance, Damna?
Yes, I am a big video game player.
And is there any, because I know you probably like The Witcher and that sort of thing, then I'm guessing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The Witcher is, I think, one of the best games of the latest years. But I am a big point-and-click adventure fan. That was my really cup of tea, actually. Yeah.
And is there any upcoming games that you're looking forward to getting your hands on?
Well, I've been actually playing a very new one, which is called Gibbous Cthulhu Adventure. It's a kind of funny way of telling a Lovecraft story. Which I'm playing this game right now these days, so it's really really cool graphics and drawings. And I really like the old style drawings and 2D graphics. But of course, I also like modern games as well. As I said, Witcher is one of my favorites. So,
super. Very cool.
The one thing that I like is great stories. That is the thing that I search when I play a game or when I see a film or read a book. It's all about that.
Yeah, and so many games aren't doing that nowadays. Like the whole old school way of having a story, having a single player story is sort of fading now in modern games. Very few games are actually still doing that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's why I still stick to the few games that really have this. One of the latest game which has a really good story and it's really, really good in my opinion is my memory. I will tell it to you in a couple of minutes when it comes to my mouth.
Yeah. Super. So, with the release of the album, are you guys hoping? I know you've got a South American tour coming up soon.
Yeah.
And will you then hope to do a more extensive European tour then after that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are right now. We are booking at least one European tour next year, and April, I think, more or less. That is the main idea. But then will probably also be 2 rounds of Europe that we will do next year. So we'll do this South American tour right now, and then we will go, back again with 1 or maybe 2 European tours.
Cool, very good. And I've spoken to a lot of bands about sort of them going over to South America and their experience over there, and they always have amazing things to say about the crowds. And from your experience, having been over there and played before, how do you feel about the crowds over there, and how has their sort of reaction been to you guys before?
Oh yeah, it's overwhelming. I mean, when you think that you're going like the other side of the world, where the least thing you would expect is someone to enjoy your music or even know it,
Yeah.
And then you see the reaction, how crazy they are, how dedicated they are. It's really amazing.
Cool.
By the way, the game I was referring to is Life is Strange. I really recommend it.
I played that alright, yeah, as well. And that was Damna from Elvenking, and make sure to check out their latest album, Reader of the Runes, Divination, which was released in last year in 2019. An excellent album and a great introduction to the new conceptual focus for the band. Now coming up, we have our teaser with Kita, aka Sampsa Astala, formerly of LORDI, from the MonSTARs of Rock, the LORDI Story documentary podcast series. That is coming up now, and if you also stick around to the end of the teaser, you will hear a clip from A Fighting Revenge, their new song, The Inquisition. But right now is Kita, aka Sampsa Astala.
Well, the thing was that I had my own band. It was the band called So. It was the band before Stella and So, and I was singer in the band, and I was playing like the rhythm guitar, and I wasn't playing drums like in years. But then me and some older guys, we had this kind of like wedding band. So we maybe played like 4 or 5 weddings in a year. And I became to like drum again a little bit. So I was playing drums, and I was at the same time I was singing some of the songs. It was more like having fun and getting some like extra money.
Right.
And then when Tommy, Mr. Lordi, called me that because back then Lordi was just a band in a paper.
Yeah.
They didn't like rehearse or anything. So at that point they decided, okay, because they used to have these 2 guitar players and no drummer at all. But then they decided, okay, maybe we need a drummer. And then Tommy called me, asked if I know any drummers that might like suit Lordi. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm an ex-drummer, so maybe if I try. And Mr. Lordi, he didn't know that, because he thought that I was a singer and a guitar player, because years before he asked me to join in Lordi to be a guitar player. Right. Even before when Amen came in. Yeah. But then I was like, no, I don't know any other songs than my own. So I didn't go. But then at that point I was like, well, we can always try. And then they gave me a couple of songs to like rehearse, and then they came to my then like rehearsal loft or whatever.
It's clean.
In a Midwest part of Finland lies a town called Rovaniemi. A town known for the Northern Lights, Santa Claus, the Arctic Circle, and reindeer. But little would people know that during a night in 1992, an 18-year-old boy was asleep, dreaming. He envisioned a skeleton, a ghastly one, on stage, dressed in leather with a top hat, and he was playing guitar to a deafening crowd. This dream would change the boy's life. The way people looked at Rovaniemi, Finland, and also heavy metal as we know it. By creating monsters that played heavy riffs and catchy choruses. A legend was born. Brought to you by True Metal Podcast, a documentary series on Finland's very own monsters, LORDI.
Monster man, could you understand beauty of the beast? Fire at will, yeah.
Featuring interviews with members of the past, such as Kita.
LORDI has been there like 20 years.
Yeah.
So they are already legends. You know,
exactly.
In every way you look at it, they are legends.
Yeah.
And just do what they do.
Kalma.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed that. That never bothered me at all. Those costumes and makeups and all that. That was part of the plan, and I knew it from the start. And I was so into it back then, and I'm still into it because I still think that LORDI is a great band.
And current members like Amen.
At some point we realized, and our future manager realized, that guys, keep it simple, and then Get Heavy came out. And I remember that time Magnum was there, and Mr. LORDI and me, and we were like, this is it, Get Heavy, that's the song.
Okay.
This is LORDI. Now it feels good.
And of course, the emphatic Mr. LORDI.
Whoever claims that they heard the Maple Market any of the songs, they are lying, because there's probably, I would say, there's less than 10 C-cassette copies of existing of that. And I have the master at home, so I know that no one has.
With many more guests from the past, present, and those closely involved with the band. MonSTARs of Rock, the LORDI Story, will delve into the history of a band like never before. A documentary that fans want and that the band deserves. Coming July 2020 on all podcast apps. Follow True Metal Pod on Instagram and Twitter to keep up to date with the production.